her hand and drew her to her feet. He bent his head and kissed her on the mouth. The day was cold. Icy lips met icy lips in a chaste embrace. Right on cue, Mr. and Mrs. Worthy made their entrance. The happy couple stood hand in hand, gracefully accepting congratulations. Mr. Worthy, thin and aesthetic, and longing to get back to his beloved books, called for champagne after having been nudged in the ribs by his small, dumpy wife. Lord Andrew took a glass, toasted his fiancée, toasted his future in-laws, and then took his leave. All just as it should have been. With the long, easy stride of a practiced athlete, he walked to his parents' house in Park Lane, although it, like the neighbouring houses, still faced onto Park Street. Not so long ago, Park Lane had been Tyburn Lane, of dubious repute. There was not much of a view of Hyde Park, for the high wall which had been built to screen the residents from the condemned on their way to the scaffold was still there. One enterprising resident had had part of the wall removed and the entrance to his house made leading from Park Lane itself. But the rest still preferred to keep to Park Street, which was still the front entrance for the rest of the houses. Up until that moment, when he walked into his parents' house and made his way to the library, Lord Andrew would have considered himself the most fortunate and happiest of men. Unlike most younger sons, he was very rich, having been given one of the minor ducal houses and estates as his own. By studying all the latest innovations in scientific farming, he had made it prosper. The money from his estates had been carefully invested. He could have afforded his own townhouse and could have lived completely independently from his family if he chose. But the Duchess of Parkworth had managed to turn the large townhouse into a home. It had an air of ease and prettiness and elegance. Lord Andrew found it restful. In his early years, he had not seen very much of his parents from one year's end to the other. He had an excellent tutor, whose job it was to turn him into a gentleman. Lord Andrew had admired his tutor greatly, and so Lord Andrew went to Oxford University, and then on the grand tour with his tutor, and then into the army to round him off. When his tutor, Mr. Blackwell, died while he was away at the wars, Lord Andrew felt as if he had lost a father. Mr. Blackwell had orchestrated the forming of Lord Andrew's character, down to choosing his tailor. He had even seen to it that my lord had lost his virginity at a suitably early age at the hands of a lusty and bawdy housemaid. That last experience had caused Lord Andrew to acquire a certain distaste for the female sex. But on the whole, he was happy and carefree, and interested in perfecting everything he turned his hand to, always trying to live up to the high standards of his now deceased tutor. But as he sat down in the library and gazed at the flickering flames of the fire, he felt, for the first time, uncomfortable inside his own skin. Usually, when he had done just as he ought, he could see in his mind's eye Mr. Blackwell's smile of approval. But all he could think of was that chilly kiss. What else did he expect? Marriage was one thing, lust another. He usually looked forward to the season as a break from the cares of agriculture. He enjoyed racing and fencing and dancing, the opera, plays, and parties. He did not have to attend the House of Lords. That chore fell to the eldest son, the Marquess of Bridgeworth, who enjoyed making long and boring speeches on the game laws. For the first time, Lord Andrew began to feel uneasily bored. He remembered when he had been very small, his nurse promising to take him to the servants' Christmas party. He had lain awake for nights before the great event, trembling with anticipation. But then his nurse had told him that his mother, the Duchess, had learned of her plans, and he was not to attend.